beautiful friends. It's Amanda here, and today I'm going to take a look back at all of the eyeshadow palettes that I've tried so far this year. There are 18 different palettes that I have tested, reviewed, or featured somewhere on my channel as of the midpoint of 2025. Of course, I'm going to link all of my relevant videos down below in the description box. So if you want to see lots more swatches, lots of times comparisons or tutorials, and overall just more in-depth info about any of these eyeshadows, then you can easily check out those other resources. I'll link them down with the links to the palettes, and I'll also list if I have like affiliate codes or anything for any of these. So hopefully you will easily be able to find all the info that you want if you want some more resources about these particular palettes. Today is at least hopefully going to be more of a speed review type of situation. I'm going to try not to be too long-winded as I go through all of these palettes, and I really want to not over-analyze my ranking too much. So the first thing that I always do is I pull out all of the palettes and I sort them into 3 categories. So my very top favorites, those are my immediate like gut reaction favorites, and then I also tend to separate out the ones that I just don't really reach for one reason or another. And it's sometimes as subjective as just a color preference. Other times it may be a lackluster formula or an inconvenient packaging or some combination of those. So all of these palettes aren't necessarily bad. It's not that they are underperforming. I just don't want to reach for them for one reason or another. And then those that settle into the middle tier, I don't really have a lot of complaints about. I don't have a reason to say I wouldn't reach for them or I haven't enjoyed using them. They're just not quite filtering up to that immediate gut reaction love. So these are ones that I like, but I don't like. I'm not in love with them. I'm just in like with them. Typically, that means that the formulas are good, but they're just not filling a missing piece in my heart for some reason. Or maybe I have something of a similar color scheme that is in the immediate faves category. But typically, the things in the middle category are great quality. They are things that I would recommend. They're just not quite hitting the spot for me personally. Rankings are incredibly subjective, so keep that in mind as we go through. A lot of what you're going to hear is just my own personal preferences. So when your preferences differ, your ranking will be very different as well. And that is perfectly valid. But today it's my ranking, so you're going to get to hear my favorites, my least favorites, and all of my reasoning. Once I have my palettes sorted into these 3 categories, it makes it a lot easier for me to rank them from 1 to 18. Just the way that my brain works, breaking these down into mini categories helps a whole heck of a lot. I made this little ranking graphic, so hopefully that helps us stay on track. And I'm a really visual person, so I like the idea of having this very clear visual here. My least favorite palette of the bunch so far is the Toy Story and ColourPop collaboration. This is the Toys Are Here palette, and I am someone who enjoys the Toy Story movies, but I wouldn't call myself a super fan, so I definitely understand that someone with more emotional attachment to these films would rightfully be more excited than I am to reach for this palette, but I just have to stress the fact that this one is by far the poorest performer of all 18 of these palettes formula wise. So, unfortunately, this one is just last place, and that's really a no brainer. But I also don't love the color story. It's not really bringing anything new for me for my collection. And ultimately, I'm just not that much of a super fan for the franchise. So, last place for me. Next up is the ColourPop Lilo and Stitch palette. And you know that I love ColourPop. This channel is basically founded on being a ColourPop stan YouTube channel for the first many years. But I feel like they've just been thriving more with their other products lately. Lip colors, blushes, like complexion, even accessories. And they've just been kind of dropping the ball on palettes so far in 2025 for me because I also don't love this Beach Dreaming palette. I do prefer overall this color story compared to the last one, but for Lilo and Stitch, I don't think it's really blue enough. I don't know. It's okay color story wise, but again, the performance just isn't there. The excitement just isn't there. So, unfortunately, this is my 17th place palette. In 16th place, we have this Lethal Cosmetics collaboration with the Showtime show Dexter. This palette is way beyond the previous two performance wise. I much prefer the formula of this Dexter palette, but for me personally, the packaging is probably 75% of the reason that I just don't really find myself wanting to pick this one up. And I will admit, the ideas are incredible. The box mimics Dexter's blood slide box from the show. The white shadow in the center of the palette looks like a little blood splatter. These are really brilliant ideas, but in practice, in my real life, this just doesn't work for me personally. The packaging is bulky, it's annoying to use, it's annoying to store, and the color story is just not one that aligns with my day to day looks. Just like the previous collabs we've talked about, I watched the show, I liked it, but I'm just not enough of a full on fan to get past those particular hurdles with the packaging, and I'm just not wearing red eyeshadow every day. So, unfortunately, the Dexter palette ranks low. That's not quite as heartbreaking as this Shadow of Secrets palette. This palette should have been made for me, as we have already established. I'm a huge ColourPop fan. I love wearing purple eyeshadow, and look at this kind of cool tone, neutral, grungy, moody, purpley. This palette should have been for me. This should be my like number one palette, but the performance of the shadows just did not measure up for me. There are a couple of shades in here that I really, really love, and honestly, this one called FMC, this really boring looking champagne shade, one of my favorite shadows. I love to wear that all the time, but this just didn't measure up to what I wanted it to performance wise. There's glitters in here, there's sequin matte shades. I know I have these colors in better formulas elsewhere in my collection. And I think I ranked this so low out of spite because this should have been for me. This really should have been my number one palette. And I am a little bit resentful that it just didn't perform well. The shadows did not work. The shades are beautiful. And almost the opposite problem for my number 15 pick. This is the Fairy Tale Europe palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I love Nomad. I love their ideas. I love that their palettes are always surprising me. This, honestly, performance wise, beautiful. Packaging, beautiful. Idea, beautiful. It's truly just the colors and the finish ratio just aren't what I'm looking for whatsoever out of a palette. Look at it. It's gorgeous. I think it's cute. It's fun. It's so romantic and whimsical. And I don't think that they did a bad job in any way whatsoever. This is purely just a case of these are not the shades and colors for me. I still would highly recommend this palette to anyone who loves these colors and loves a lot of shimmers, but for me, it wasn't the right balance of shades or finish ratios. I needed colorful mattes and I needed a more matte selection, I suppose, for it to be my perfect palette. But it's still honestly a great palette. It's just truly a case of not right for me. Kind of the same sort of idea for this Sigma Spectrum palette. I do think this is a great palette, and if this is the color story that you're looking for, and this is the matte to shimmer ratio that you're looking for, then I can't say that I don't recommend it. I really just don't use a palette like this. I have plenty of warm neutrals already existing in my collection that I have tried and true, reached for a lot, and have a better, higher shimmer ratio. I know, I sound impossible to please. The Nomad one had too many shimmers, this one has too many mattes. I really generally thrive in that closer to 50-50 ratio just for the eye looks that I love and the palettes that I end up being excited to reach for and inspired to reach for. That's at the end of the day what I'm looking for. This NARS Afterglow Tempting palette that is in the number 12 spot in my ranking just has a tighter curation of colors, even though it's also a very basic neutral vibe, much like the Spectrum palette. This NARS one is a little bit easier to reach for just because it is a more simplified color story. And I also really enjoy the duochrome shimmers in this palette. I find this to be the case quite often with NARS palettes. They don't look like much in the pan, but when it comes to actually applying these and wearing them on the lids, I just find that I enjoy them. I reach for them. They're easy to use. So that's why the NARS Afterglow Tempting palette is going to go just above the Spectrum palette for me. The number 11 and number 10 palettes are placed here right in the middle for very similar reasons. I really like the formula. I like the idea. I like the packaging. This Galactic Visitor palette from Singe Beauty, as well as the next one, the America's Route 66 palette from Nomad Cosmetics, are both really nicely performing, well balanced, with fun themes, fun colors, things that I think are really quite useful. Personally, I love this celestial looking background with the little imprints in the shadows. I am just very drawn to this aesthetic. I enjoy this palette. While I was testing it, I enjoyed using it. I got lots of beautiful looks out of it. Same with the Route 66 palette. No problems performance wise, no problems coming up with fun, beautiful looks. Ultimately, I just ended up getting other palettes that I clicked with a little bit more. I'm not a super bright colors person. I like wearing all different types of looks. I love experimenting. Ultimately, my makeup style is I like trying something new, but lately I've just been more in a grungy type of vibe. And while I can get looks that I truly love and click with from both Galactic Visitor and the Route 66 palette, these just weren't the ones that I felt my hand reaching for as often as others when I was looking to do my eyeshadow day to day, at least at the time of filming this ranking. As always, I reserve the right to change my mind on this ranking by the time the end of the year rolls around. Now, in spot number 9, we have the Tangled ColourPop palette. Yes, there are 5 ColourPop palettes on this ranking, and 4 of them are IP collabs. I probably have the least emotional connection to this particular intellectual property just based on my age, but ultimately, this palette really rose to the top because of this one single dark purple shade I love so much. I did struggle formula wise with some of the other shadows in here, just like I did with the lower rank palettes, but I've used this one a lot purely just for that purple. The neutrals in here work well for me too. So they really were coasting on one shadow with this one, and I'm gonna be so honest about that. Next, in 8th place, we have the Monk palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. This is a rich orangey color story. I really love the mustardy yellow matte shade in this palette, and the shimmers are just so soft and beautiful. We have a little tie-dye speckled shade in the center. I'm a huge fan of Fantasy Cosmetica. I love their formulas. I love their class palettes, their artwork, their creativity. They just are truly one of my favorite brands. And this matte mustardy shade called Channel is such a gorgeous shadow. But everything in here is truly just high performing, well balanced, a well matched color story. Love it. Also, will say the same thing about this Après Ski palette from Nomad Cosmetics. I love the formulas in here. Typically, I'm not one to reach for a lot of pastel type shades. I'm not one to reach for a lot of pink shades, but something about the frosty, ice creamy curation of these shadows, well balanced with a few richer, more jewel tone colors, just works incredibly well for me. I think part of it was the novelty of shades and tones that I don't often reach for working so well for me. Pastels are tough. Pastels can be grainy, dry, patchy, and these are just so smooth and beautiful and just a pleasure to work with. So I am not surprised that it ended up being in the top half of my favorites. Next is the Love Language palette. This is a collaboration palette between a creator, Morgan Turner, and Odin's Eye. This palette has such a sweetness. It definitely captured the romantic vibe. I think that, as usual, the Odin's Eye packaging is really beautiful and colorful and ornate. I personally really like their style. I love the imprinted eyeshadows. Here's my favorite rich, blurple, dark purple shimmer shade. I think this is beautifully done. I've enjoyed wearing it quite a bit, and I've also reached for it as a companion palette when I just need one or two shades, which is something that makes me endeared to a palette, and I am very endeared to this love language palette. Next, I have a similar experience with a very different color story. This is the Agate Temptation palette from Singe Beauty, and I love a swampy green. I want to be a moss girl at all times, moss girl summer instead of hot girl summer. Although with this palette, you could also get hot girl summer. I like the toasty warm tones juxtaposed with those mossy and swampy greens. Purple is my favorite eyeshadow color to wear, but green is a close second. And I'm also a big fan of the gemstone theme. I love gemstones. I love the packaging on this. It's just beautiful and graphic. And again, you can grab one shadow out of here just as easily as you can make exquisite curated looks. So, big fan of this palette. It's interesting and it works really well for me. Next, we have the final ColourPop palette. They managed to pull a top spot here. The New Moon palette is in the fourth place spot for me. I've said previously in my reviews, I am a fan of the Twilight movies. So, of course, I do have some attachment to the IP here, but it's definitely just more on theme for me color wise. These are the types of colors I could wear all the time, any day, easily. This could be a travel palette for me. I've got the spooky celestial packaging. And the formula in this one is the best of all the ColourPop palettes that I've tried so far this year. Thankfully, hands down, this is the best palette they've done all year. In my opinion, anyway. I guess it's just one gal's opinion. In third place is the Ranger palette, another class palette from my beloved Fantasy Cosmetica. Here we have another one of those rich mossy greens juxtaposed with some toasty corally type of colors. There are lots of palettes here that have similar color stories to one or the other. I think it's truly just trend forecasting. And I don't think anybody here is like taking anybody else's ideas. It's just a good idea. But the way that this color story is curated is a little bit surprising, definitely exciting, really close to that 50-50 matte to shimmer ratio. The shimmers in here, beautiful, beautiful artwork as always. Really, really enjoy this one. And a surprise second place, at least surprising in my opinion, is the Candy Kingdom palette from Lethal Cosmetics. This is colorful and kind of like a bonkers layout. I typically like things that are more orderly and more color curated, I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's just a more chaotic layout. There's a lot of pastels, a lot of neons. This truly shouldn't be one of my favorite palettes, but I have just really enjoyed this one. And honestly, I've been grabbing like two or three shades for a look, and I often use the very sparse neutrals, James the Second, Cinnamon Bun. I use those a lot, and they're just the right balance, the right foil to these colorful shades. And yeah, I've just really truly had a lot of fun with it, reached for it a lot. And so for me, it's just one of the most fun and special palettes that's come out so far this year. Lastly, my favorite palette that I've tried in 2025. This is the Realm of Fairies palette. This is a Bella Beauté bar collaboration with Sassy Fairy. If you really take a minute to assess the colors up here, this truly is so different from everything else. I think that's part of what appeals to me. I love the moody, sultry, richness of these shades, and it's so perfectly juxtaposed by super shimmery, special, reflective, magical little shimmery shades. I can't even really put into words. Something about it truly is just magical. I love that it has this sort of fantasy theme because this is very dreamy. Something about it is very fairy. It has a dark, edgy moodiness to the color story. I just really love it. I really, really think that it's well done. I can tell that it was thoughtfully curated. This is the type of palette I could easily wear all the time, like every day I could reach for this, even if I was just going to do a one shadow look with a little shimmery on the lid, something more intricate. Obviously, something smoky, sultry. You could do something very, very graphic with these bold shades. And I just love the way the colors layer. I love the way that everything works together. I like that it's cool toned, but not too cool toned. I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. It's like cool neutral. And it's lovely. I just think it's great. I like that the shadows come out. I bought this palette myself. This isn't PR. I don't earn any money from telling you how much I really like this palette. I just think it's beautiful and special, and it makes me excited about makeup. And I want to hear what makes you excited about makeup. What palettes have you tried? Maybe you haven't tried anything new and you're just loving something that's already existing in your collection. I like to hear that too. So make sure you leave all your thoughts down in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I love your little face, and I will see you real soon. Bye.